Yeah, let us start. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So last week we were here, like we dealt with learning goals and learning means. So we discussed about the materials, right? So what are the objectives? What are the target levels? So what are the formulating objectives, curricular objectives? Then we discussed classroom procedures. So what are the methods and techniques in classroom procedures? What are the approaches and how the objectives are formulated? So what is a spoken language? How the fluency and accuracy and appropriacy comes into play. So what is a complex performance? And what are the kinds of materials? What are print materials, non-print materials, features of materials, and what is a task? How can we design a task? And how can we develop a task? Uh, what is the like meaning of classroom interaction? So all these things we just had discussed last class. Today is our last class, and also the last part of that teaching. That is teaching learning process. That is testing and evaluation. You all know what is evaluation, right? And testing. So it's a small topic, and we can discuss briefly about evaluation and what is testing. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I audible, right?
Yes, sir. Very clear.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So what is a test? Normally, in your own words, what is a test and what is an evaluation?
Test is the tool to evaluate, sir. To evaluate
Okay.
in, say, to assess the person's knowledge, existing knowledge.
Hmm. And evaluation?
Evaluation is the final output of the results, sir. That is based on that we can say this person
Hmm.
has learned this one. This
Yeah,
one
yes.
he has not learned that one.
Yeah. So we today will be discussing the relationship between teaching, learning, and testing. So how evaluation plays a meaningful role in teaching and learning. And we will discuss about the ground realities of examinations in our country, especially in our states. So, sir was pointing out what is a test and evaluation. So, we in like last two classes prior last two classes we discussed how to formulate objectives, right? Objectives they have to be realized through a course of instruction, like with the teacher playing an important role, how the teacher is facilitating the learning in the classroom. So formulating an objectives. There is a like one-on-one role between the objectives and testing, evaluation and testing. So testing or evaluation. Evaluation should be uh, like it should be fulfilling the objectives. What are the teaching objectives? Then only its reliability is tested. So evaluation is the end stage of facilitating a process. So after teaching, evaluation is the last part of classroom instruction. It tells us whether the materials and methods used, uh, whether the methods or approaches that are used are fulfilled or not, right? So we'll move to purposes of testing. So there is a purpose for testing, right? For without purpose, if we evaluate, there is a no meaning to it. After the classroom teaching finishes, like when the teacher finally says that he accomplished the goal, after his students perform, his or her student perform like good, then only he can say that I encapsulated uh, or I put some information in the brains of the student. If the student performs well, then only teacher will be tapping his back. Otherwise, if the student is not performing well, then teacher has to reassess what he has taught, or he has to change the methods or approaches, and again he have to go for evaluation. So there is a direct relationship between the objectives for how we formulate on objectives and the evaluation. If we if there is a good relation between the objectives and the evaluation, then only the outcome will be fruitful, or the product will be fruitful. Otherwise, there is no meaning. If there is no sync between the objectives and evaluation, then there is no meaning. There is no outcome. There will be no proper outcome. Then what happens? They have to reassess again. So it is not like failing, but it is like not reliable in the situation. So there should be a connection between the objectives and evaluation. So for every test there should be a purpose, fulfilling a purpose. If the test fulfill the purpose, then only it is valid, right? Otherwise it is not valid. We can't test a person without giving him the proper instruction. Without instruction we can't test also. Some schools, some not only schools, some institutions, they have a prior exam. Some corporate schools also, if they wanted to take admissions for the students, they will test their capability. Is it right or wrong in the admission
Depends,
process? Depends in the sense.
uh, if the school tests and only based on the test, if admission is given, sometimes it is against the policy of our government about right to
Hmm.
education.
Yes,
And
yes.
if it is not tested, probably the teacher may not be really able to get the idea about the child, and
Hmm.
further to instill some knowledge into the child.
But right to education, like emphasize the children, regardless of their age or regardless of their uh, mental capability, cognitive capability. Students are to be admitted in a school, right? So
Yes, sir.
there should not be like prior test before taking admission. Whoever comes for admission, then for which they have to take admission, right? So some schools for their prestige, like for their um, to maintain their own standards, they want the quality of the students to be part of their institution. Even the same is happening with the government institutions also, right? So before there was a APRJC, you might come across this word, right? Andhra Pradesh Junior Residential Colleges.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you wanted to admit into that college also, students have to take entrance exam. Even now we have so many sets, right? Common entrance test for every course. So this, uh, what we call like, sometimes government is also not able to come up with other ideas, like alternative ideas. They are not upgrading the system. They are like just following the previous system. So RT 2009 is still to be like implemented. It's like implementation process. So process it is implementing. It is like just saying that India is a developing country. So we can't say that it is implemented in every area or every place, but it is still under the renovation. So sometimes the policymakers. So India is a country of India is a vast country. So we can't assess all the things that are to be said or that are to be what we call that are to be followed. So there are some loopholes also in testing. We will discuss while we come up those topics. Okay. So I was speaking about the purpose of testing. So the main purpose of the testing is that learner should understand, and you should understand how much new learning has occurred and to be consolidated the learning. So how much he has learned today. It's like a self-assessment. How much he has gained information today and how much he improved. So the main purpose of the testing is like improvement of the learner. It's not about testing how he's like behaving, how he's performing, but it's a all-round development of a learner. At last, the main purpose of the testing is that learner is like he's he has grown a step ahead or not. That's the main purpose. So in a language learning, there are many questions on the content that do not serve the purpose of testing. But what we can say is like language learning you can test at a time. Like language learning in a classroom, it should be tested appropriately. Like every time, like teacher, if she conduct activity, there should be a cumulative testing, cumulative evaluation. So then and there, every time, student should be tested. Like student should be evaluated every day, because learning is not a subjective. It's like language learning is not a subjective. He can't write or he can't take a test after the completion of the semester. It should be evaluated daily, day-to-day process. So how much improvement his speaking skills or his writing skills has developed, day-to-day progress has to be checked. So testing is not about can't be looked in a single domain, but it should be looked in multi domains. But test results, they tell about the challenge level of the test itself. So tests, what we can say is that the results. So you can't expect a learner to be performing well on that particular time. So it will be the challenging also. Suppose a learner having a test today, so he will be on the way and there is an accident for him. Do you think that he will perform well that day? No, right? So if he given a chance, one more chance, then he may perform a little bit uh, good, or some progress will be there. So testing can't be isolated. It loses the purpose of the testing. So the main thing is that the main challenge of the test is like the test itself. So we can't ignore the other parts and other means, like other situations, and you can't test a learner by your teaching only. So there is a triangular relationship between a teacher, teaching, learning, and test evaluation. So all these three should be related to each other. So even if your evaluation is based on teaching itself, then it is not reliable. But if the evaluation meets all the three, like or learning also, it should be learner centered. not not a teacher centered. Then test performances tells about the validity of objectives themselves. That I was speaking about. There is a one-on-one relationship between the objectives and testing, right? So if the objectives are formulated in a way, then you have to evaluate in the same way only. So your evaluation or your testing should completely rely on the objectives that you formulate when you are teaching. We move to types of tests. So there are different types of tests. So one is achievement test and proficiency tests, diagnostic tests, and placement tests. These are different types of tests. We will be discussing one by one. First is achievement tests. Uh, these achievement tests are based on the content of the course. So at last, if the teacher he teaches all the subject, so by the end of the year, he will like for the evaluation purpose, he will give an exam, and student will perform according to his capability. Then a teacher will see how much content or how much the information he has put into the test. So it is evaluated. These are called achievement tests. So normally, what we call, yeah, normally it is like after the completion of the course, these tests are generally given, achievement tests. Next, we move to proficiency tests. Proficiency tests are nothing but they test the levels of the ability required for particular target situations. And these are not based on any predetermined course of instruction. And solely to develop the proficiency of a language. Not only I'm speaking in the context of language learning. So how much the proficient he has. I was telling about the cumulative evaluation, right? So learner should not be judged at a time, but he has to be evaluated every day. After the completion of each and every task, he have to tested and he have to be evaluated so that teacher will understand his ability to learn and how he is performing. Is he improving day by day or is lagging behind? So proficiency tests are nothing but it's an ability required for particular target situations. So if teacher wanted to test the reading skills of a learner, so he will conduct an examination. So he will be giving a comprehensive passages. So where the students have to read the passage and answer the following questions given below. These are only limited for particular target situations. These are called proficiency tests. We move to diagnostic tests. These tests are like these tests are like they are administered to find out the language levels of a group of task takers, especially with a view to identify common areas of weaknesses to be taken up for remediation later. What we say is like these for a particular learner, if he has a all the learners, there are different types of learners. Like there will be gifted, there will be average learners, there will be poor learners. So if a learner is lagging behind on any topic, for example direct speech and indirect speech, so if, uh, or parts of sentences, so where the learner is lagging behind, in which topic the learner is lagging behind, so teacher has to find out where he's lagging behind, and from there he has to explain one more time, or he has to plan accordingly to teach the topic in a different way or using a different method. He has to teach according to it and test only that particular topic. These are called diagnostic tests, where the learner, especially like those who are lagging behind. So these tests are to identify where the learner is lagging behind, in which areas the learner is lagging behind. The fourth one is placement test. You all know what is a placement. So it is a like a synonym. Placements. The word itself tells that placement tests are say it is like to group according to levels of language ability so as to have a homogeneous groups. For example, after the completion of a course, there are placements, right? For BTech colleges and all, they have placements. So if the people who are, get through that interview or they pass that interview test, they will be given placements. So same applies to here also. If these are called special tests, like standardized tests, where the learner is assessed for to achieve a target. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Sir, I think probably these placement tests are about section division or group division. I think placement tests are
Yeah, yeah,
serving that purpose, right, sir?
yeah. I am giving an example. Like we call that
Yes,
those are
yes,
homogeneous groups, right? And
yes, sir.
yeah, that is what I'm telling. I have a problem with this test, where what we call that grouping the learners. So to group the learners to what what we call homogeneous groups, right? So dividing the sections. So if he achieves something, then he will be selected for a particular group. What we see in the classrooms, right? There is a section, B section, C section, D section. So the students who performed well in the first mid exam, they will be given A section. The students who will be average, they'll be given B section. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to group the learners. So homogeneous grouping, what we call. So to group the learners, these tests are to be conducted. So in the placements also. So if if the learner is going through the interview, once he achieves the interview, he will be placed in particular company. Then again, he is not achieved, he will be given like nowadays the placements are also of having different levels. So if there is a good company for a content writing. So first we have a interview like what we call individual round where we have introduce ourselves, and second round will be a group discussion. Third round will be a uh, question answer thing, and last round will be an interview. If the learner passes first round, then he will go to second round, right? So placement
Yes, sir.
test are placement test comes across these fields. Next we move to kinds of testing. So what are the different kinds of testing? There are direct testing and indirect testing. So, for example, there is a teacher wanted to uh, assess the writing skills of a learner. So he will ask the student to write a leave letter. So student write a leave letter. Then in that letter, what teacher will assess is how is his writing skills. So direct, it is a direct testing. It is an example for direct testing where the letter writing, through the letter writing, the teacher will assess the writing skills of a learner. Indirect testing is like creating an indirect situation, creating a situation, and learners are asked to perform. So there will be a situation given, For example, multiple choice questions. In your textbook, there is a fill in the blanks. So there, to find out the learner's grammar skills, or to find out whether the learner is good in articles. So there is a situation created, like in the form of fill in the blanks, and where the learner is tested is proficiency in grammar. So here they give a small exercise regarding articles. Okay. So indirect testing, it attempts to measure the abilities that underlie the skills which are being tested. These indirect testing, they particularly test an item, for example, grammatical item in isolation. It tests a discrete point. What is like it tests only one aspect of a grammar. So these to test all these grammatical items, or to test a single topic. Indirect testings are very much useful. Next, we move to integrative testing. The name itself says that it is integrated. So these tests are not in isolation. These tests are not to be uh, what tested in isolation, but it is an integrated effort. For example, we see the first direct testing, where the teacher assesses the learner's writing skills through writing letter. So integrated testing is like learners are asked to write a paragraph or summary of a lesson. So if the learner writes that summary, then teacher will be testing all the grammatical errors, aspects, and there is a what we were discussing about coherence and discourse. The teacher will be assessing discourse also, how he is framing the sentences. So learner, it is integrated uh, testing, where the teacher tests all the aspects of a language. But direct testing, if the teacher wanted to test the writing skills of the learner, then directly she will ask him or her to write, the learner to write. But here in integrated testing, teacher will assess all kinds of like all topics related to language learning in in integrated way. This is called integrated testing. Next we move to performance reference testing. It is the ability to write an application or a leave letter for language use at the future date. It is performance reference testing. So for now, for now, if they learn how to write a letter, it will be useful for their future purpose. So this testing refers to that. It aims to uh, get a future user also. Like it aims to fulfill the future uh, learning of a learner. Next, we move to system reference testing. It is nothing but language itself a system. So mastering that language or mastering that system is a system reference testing. It can be from any part of a language, whether it will be a syntax, whether it will be a morphology, phonology, or whether it will be comprehensive. All the links referred in the language system are to be tested. Next, we move to criterion reference. Criterion. It's a one criteria is tested. So there are many aspects of the language. So one aspect. If the teacher wanted to test one aspect of a language, so these tests are used. Criterion reference. All standardized tests are criterion reference tests. Remember. Next, we'll move to norm reference. So, testing relative merits of different students' scores will be judged accordingly. For judging purpose or to give the scores, in a process of evaluation, what we see, so only one get 10 points, and or two or three people, students may get 9 points, or some people may get 8 CGPA. To, to measure the scores of a learner, these tests are conducted, norm reference testing. So these are different types of testing that we briefly. Next, we move to types of test items. So there are two types. One is objective type and the second one is subjective type. Objective type, you all know that they are commonly used in all languages, especially for selection procedures. They will use objective type. You can say what are objective types? Hello.
Sir,
Yeah. So what are objective type of
multiple choice
question?
questions, sir.
Yeah, multiple choice questions, true or false, short answer type, right? One word answers. These are all objective type. You all know. Then we go to issues in testing. There are different issues in testing. So the significant value of a test rely on two criteria. One is validity, the second one is reliability. So reliability is nothing but it's an adequacy testing, or how real the test is, how trustworthy the test is. So it refers, reliability refers to the factors that affects the test results. So sometimes administration factors affects reliability. Sometimes text instructions. Sometimes there will be different instructions. Like you have to finish the exam in three hours, and you were asked for 10 questions. Normally in B.Ed and B.Ed, like people are asked so much to write. I don't know how they will evaluate, but there are some types of tests for BTech students. There are different questions to be asked, and there is a different types of questions that are asked. And especially in professional courses like B.Ed and for MA, there are different types of tests that are asked. And the final thing, like the foremost thing that we have to check is that reliability, whether these tests are real enough or adequate enough to test the learner's capability. So these sometimes administration issues are there, so it will affect the reliability of the test. Some institutions wanted to have a good percentage for their promotions, and some administrations wanted to show off their capability in the form of testing. And instruction is also sometimes a problem for these also affect reliability. But reliability is enhanced if there is an enough examples of a language behavior. So if there are enough situations created for a learner to write. When we were in PG, when we are in MA English, language and literature, my professor used to ask us to write all day exam. So literature, can't limit literature for 3 hours. So literature, yeah, my professor used to ask us to write for all day. Even we have a lunch break in the middle of a examination. Even we have a tea break also. And sometimes nowadays universities are conducting open book examination. So these are adequate examples where these to enhance the reliability of a test or an evaluation that is happening nowadays. And one more thing, there should be a consistency. There should be a consistency in the test scores, and it should be similar to each other. Then only it is reliable enough. We move to validity. Validity we know, and it is the second factor, like second factor of testing. Reliability is related to external factors of testing, but validity related to internal factors of testing. A test is said to be valid if it measures accurately the ability that intends to measure. So validity relates to various aspects. One is content, the second one is criterion, the third one is construct, and fourth one is phase. So there are four validities. First one is content. So content validity is nothing but it is a test. If the content of a test is representative of a language skills, it is concerned with. So language skills that are concerned with, there should be a like what we call suitable examples or a suitable skills, language skills that are concerned with. They should be matching skills. Then it have a content validity. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Other
Sir?
participants are silent. I don't know why.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it seems like you people are done today. What happened?
No, sir. You are not giving any gap. So continuously
Oh,
listening
okay,
and
okay.
then reflecting.
Oh, okay. Sorry, sorry for the thing because we got less time.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yeah, we got less time. We will be like I will be briefing in 15 to 20 minutes, then we can discuss various issues uh, on evaluation, right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, we were looking into the content validity. Sorry, context validity. Next, we go to criterion validity. So criterion validity, it is a highly reliable assessment. So it assesses the ability of the candidates. So there are two kinds of criterion validities. One is concurrent, and the second one is predictive. So concurrent is nothing but there should be a relation between the longer course of longer version and the shortened version. Then only it is concurrent enough. So there should be a relationship established between the longer versions and the shortened versions. But predictive validity is different. It implies the degree which a text can predict a scores and student can like later performance. So it's not about the particular context only. So it is validity. It is valid for later performances. Also. Next we move to construct validity. Construct like it is like specific underlying ability. So this ability is specific enough, and this like it, the interpretation of the score should be meaningful. Like they should be reliable to each other, like appropriate to each other. This is called construct validity. The last one is face validity. We already know what is a face validity. If the test does not appear to measure what it claims to do, so it lacks face validity. So if the test what are you going to conduct cannot measure the performance or the what you are looking for, then it loses face validity. It is not reliable. It should be accepted by all. All means the students, teachers, policymakers, and parents also. So then only it has a face validity. If it lacks one 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 quality or one aspect also, then it lacks face validity. That's why to improve face validity of the test, government or any policymakers, they will what they will do is they will first start the pilot study of a thing. Then only if the pilot study is successful, then only they can be like availing these tests, like they will be implementing these tests into fullest form. Now we move to easy topic, formative assessment, formative evaluation. You all know what is formative evaluation. We all know what is summative evaluation and cumulative evaluation. So I will leave up to you. So we will have a 5 minutes discussion on this. So what is summative evaluation? You can speak in your own words. So what is a summative evaluation?
Year-end examinations, sir, like
Yeah, it's
term
as
and
simple as that.
examinations.
Yeah. So the evaluation that will be after the end of the course, right? It is also called end of the course exam or end of the course test. And what is formative?
Continuous check, continuous comprehensive
Hmm.
evaluation like that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So it is continually monitoring of the progress of the learners, and the learners are directed or redirected or like scaffolded in phase, every phase of the learning process. And there will be a feedback on performance throughout the course. This is plans on formative evaluation. Then what is cumulative?
Altogether, sir, that which were the things evaluated during the
Yeah,
term.
it combines
All of
formative and summative, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah. So there will be a continuous grading at periodic intervals. So after after the course, there will be a term end exams. So after each unit, there will be unit end exams. So and the continuous assessment, evaluation in the classroom also. This all accumulate to form a cumulative assessment. And what is classroom-based evaluation?
Sir, would you repeat that question, sir?
Classroom-based evaluation.
Probably
So
during lessons, sir.
yeah, in a classroom, the name itself says that classroom-based evaluation. So whatever you do in a classroom, so you evaluate, right? So teaching and learning also. Teaching, it's not only information giving, right? It
Yes, sir.
also it also involves in telling the learners how their progress is, how they are learning, how they are in some institutions there are mentor mentee meetings. You come across these things, MMN. So teacher is not only a facilitator, he is also mentor also. So he will be the mentee will be a student. So it is not about the subject related. All the things are discussed in the classroom. In the classroom, it's not only a what we call it's not only a information processing uh, stage. It is also more than that. Not only information giving stage. It is more than that. It is like teacher is a parent, teacher is a mentor, teacher is a facilitator. So teacher should assess all the things, not only a learner's performance, learner's cognitive abilities, but learner's emotional things also teacher have to be looking into. So all these things, classroom-based evaluation, all these things comes into classroom-based evaluation. We will look to have some more good idea on classroom-based evaluation. So in conventional classroom, there are two types of classrooms, right? So in conventional classroom, like teacher teaches, like to teacher only teaches textbooks, and at the end of the semester, students are expected to write something. Like students are to give examinations. This is one type of classroom. The other type of classroom is learner-centered classroom, where I was telling about teachers should be looking into the not only mental aspects but socio emotional aspects of the learner also. Then it will boost the learning process and it will boost the learning aspect in the learners. So this all comes under classroom based evaluation. And it is like you are expected uh, to give an immediate feedback. If the evaluation is at a time the teacher gives evaluates the students. So if the teacher wanted to have something from the students, teacher can ask questions also. So if the students can answer related to that question, then it's okay. If they're not able to answer, if they're beating around the bushes, then the teacher scaffolds them, like teacher enhance them, teacher will give some clues to them so that they will motivate the learner to achieve something. So immediate feedback, it promotes learning. So my teacher used to tell about two types of evaluations, two types of testing. So there are two types of teachers. One teacher will test you what you don't know. One type of teacher will test you what you know. So which type of teacher are you?
It is actually a constructive feedback would always be really good, sir, rather than just saying kind of a vague one, eh,
Hmm.
good or bad.
Hmm.
Positive, both positive and negative. That is, first of all, we mention the positive aspects of the student, and then
Yeah.
what are the areas that are to be improved. If we
Hmm.
just give a point to point, very clear in detail, so that the student can identify himself where he is lagging and he can
Yes.
correct it. Otherwise, saying this is not good, no, it does not give any a proper development with the student.
Yeah. Yes. So if we will be speaking about the computer. So you'll be speaking about the features of computer, and you give the question like you give the examination on mobile phone. It is not related, right? So my teacher used to say there are two types of teachers. One teacher is like he or she will assess you how much the students knows, assess the learners how much they know, and there are one more type of testing, and that testing is how much they don't know. Right? It should not be come into classroom situations, right? As you said, Ram sir, so there should be a constructive feedback. So you can't directly oppose the learner. So everything he writes comes from uh, the information that processed by the teacher itself. So whatever the student is writing, So whatever the student is having in his mind or brain to write something, that is regarding the experiences that he or she has in their prior classes. So if they come and sit in the class and the teacher is giving some information that is stored in their brains, even they are not able to like write precisely, but they will be beating around the bushes, right? So they will have an idea, but they don't know how to present it, right? So vaguely you oppose them, it is not a correct. So you have to use this particular word only. You have to use this precise word only. Otherwise, I will not give you marks. This is not the type of testing, right? As I feel. What you feel?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next, we move to teaching, learning, and testing. I was telling that these three have a triangle relation: teaching, learning, and testing. And the end point of the course of instruction is evaluation. So the strongness, the strength of this relationship enhances the learning. So if the relationship between the teaching, learning, and testing has a strong relation, is strong, then only there is some uh, the end product will be the teacher will be getting. If there is no relationship, like no strong relationship between these three, then the learning is not happening, or there will be some deviation in this process. So teaching is as important as learning, and evaluation is as important as teaching and learning. So these three has equal importance, or equal emphasis is given to all these three things: teaching, learning, and testing. Then only the classroom situation, learning, classroom situation learning will be fruitful. Otherwise, there will be no, there will be slight deviations, and sometimes the learner will not understand a clear-cut view. If the teacher will be telling about something about A and asking uh, B, then it is not related, right? So I was telling about the objectives. So whatever objectives you formulate, that are only evaluated. So if you formulate two objectives and you wanted to evaluate the three objectives, then it is not as good as it is. So if you are expecting only the two objectives from the learners, so you have to be giving examination, or you have to preparing the question. You have to be preparing the question paper according to the two formulated objectives only. So your aim is only limited to these two objectives. And these three relationships will be interlocking also. So you can't mismatch all these three things. So if evaluation is given less importance, then it is not the right way to do. All these three things should be evaluated accordingly, or given importance accordingly. Materials and methods, and all these things, materials or methods, approaches, are based on objectives, and the testing is based on materials and the objectives. So there will be interlocking, there will be a relationship. So if the materials and methods are based on objectives, then the testing is based on objectives. So indirectly, testing is based on materials and methods. Then objectives are evaluated. But what we see nowadays is generally the tests are based on material, but it should be based on objectives. There is a huge gap in learning process. That's why we can't expect more from the learners. Now, still, like English language education, was like implemented, not implemented, proposed in 1835 by Macaulay in its minutes, Macaulay minutes, what we call. So it is like nearly 200 years. Like still, people are struggling to speak or learn a language because there is a deviation in these three. What we call there is little deviation in these three aspects. What is teaching, learning, testing? That's why teachers are like what we call they are the standing materials. So what we call they are the standing materials. But teachers, according to their teaching, they can formulate objectives. If sometimes teacher feels that this material is not enough for my students, then he or she can add some more to it, or he or she can delete some aspects, and she can put it in her own way. In her own way, like it will be reachable to the slow learners also. He or she can do that thing. But I was speaking about the instructional deviations, right? Like administrative things that affect the reliability of evaluation tests. But the administration, some administration will not give the freedom for the teachers to do in this manner. So some teachers they wanted to they have a different plans. They have perfect approaches for the learners. Out of their experiences, they will have so much enthusiasm, or they have so much curiosity to prepare a materials and to prepare the objectives, formulate objectives for their students. But administration will not allow them. Sometimes the rules will not allow them. Sometimes these or her personal factors also affect. So only the teachers are not able to cope up with these things. And next thing is teaching is only aimed to promote learning, and the learning is rated by a test. It is like indirectly teaching is related to a test. Whatever you teach, you have to test the learner. You can't test from the out of syllabus. So you can't test the learner outside of your teaching process procedure. What we call a test is a time-bound tool, and it measures representative sampling of the areas of learning. Test is all sometimes test is only limited to particular time. So now we are in an English classroom, and we might have learned mathematics up to 10th class, but some people still uh, they could have get so many marks, like they could have get A plus or a distinction grade. But now, after 3 4 years, they can't able to solve the problems. So test is only a time bound thing. But the these what we call the evaluation if the because that these tests are prepared by the materials. If the tests are prepared by the objectives, what teacher is willing to achieve, then they will long last in that. The student will never, the student will never forget the ideas. So it all depends upon the teacher itself. I think we finished our syllabus, like fifth block. Anything left?
So would you kindly give some important questions, sir, for or everybody else's sake?
Yeah. I expected this question from you. There is a model examination book, the backside of the test. Did you go through it?
Yes, sir.
So don't worry, questions will be coming from this uh, paper only. I can't give you, can't say that all the questions from this model examination paper, but there will be a related topics. These the questions pattern is the same and the topics are also, but they will be asking in another way. That much I can give you. I am authorized to give you that much information only.
Sir, which book would
Yeah.
you suggest with these references, sir? We have almost more than 10
Yeah.
references given down
Yes.
over
Yes.
here,
Yes.
page number
Yes.
190.
Yes. I suggest you to go for Richards and Rogers. Richard Jackson and Rogers T. Approaches and Methods in Language Teaching. It's a very good book. Like I personally suggest you to go for that book because it covers every. It is like every language teacher should possess this book. So you can get it in Amazon also for like 300, but the original publication cost is like nearly 3,000. But there is a second-hand books also. Like there is one book, one application called Bookstore. Have you ever heard that application?
Would you say it again, sir?
Bookstore. B book Bookstore CHOR. It is a application where people will be selling the second-hand books. The original cost of this book is nearly like 3,500 something. It's 3,500 change, but you can get approximately like 300 for a 300 rupees. In Amazon and Flipkart also, sometimes you'll get for 300 rupees. Yeah, okay. Otherwise, I will.
Yes, sir.
I can't share. Okay, you can write my number. If you have any like related queries, you can just text me. My number will be 88464. Write in the chat so you can.
That would be a good idea, sir.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I texted in the chat box. You can. I'm lucky enough that I got this book for only 250 rupees. So in that application, you can download the application called Bookstore. You'll get all the fiction, non-fiction books, everything related to language and literature for a minimum cost. But I can guarantee you there is these books are personal books, but for general understanding, people can't, we people can't afford that much. So I think this will be good idea.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, and if you wanted to have some like idea on pedagogy, NS Prabhu
Yes.
book, Second Language Pedagogy. He wrote post method. This book will be. I suggest you this book also, NS Prabhu.
But that,
He said,
sir, a
yeah,
small doubt, but that was published way back in 1987.
yes,
Uh,
yes. Still, it is relevant because it discusses about all the postmodern theories and methods. It is originally published in 1987, but there is a editions also, first edition,
yes,
second edition. So I think now it is a third edition, and it is like in 2014 or something. I don't know exactly the date, but it is the author will improvise that he will give in second edition. Here they mentioned 1987, but now I think it's a fourth or fifth edition. You can go
Yes,
for
sir.
that book first. Yeah, N.S. Prabhu. This Richards and Rogers book will be talking about the approaches and methods of language teaching. And the N.S. Prabhu book, he will be talking about the positive methods. So that is like a really interesting book. What he talks about the techniques, classroom procedures. Richards and
Yes, sir.
Rogers book, they will give you only the idea what is grammar translation methods, situational approach, communication language teaching, total physical responses. They will be giving all the approaches and methods of English language teaching from way back, what we call from 19th century to now.
Yes,
And
sir.
NS Prabhu book is like continuation to this book, Richards and Rogers. You can go for these two books, and there is a Stern HH book also. Uh, that will be a good. It will be coming in that red color one, red color. It will be in red color, so you can go for this book also. Fundamental concepts of language.
Sir, can our Telugu Academy book cover any of these three, sir?
Yeah, Telugu Academy books. Telugu Academy books for what? Like you have for B.Ed. You are talking.
I have one Telugu Academy English methodology book, sir.
Yeah, B.Ed book, right? English pedagogy for.
English pedagogy, yes.
Yeah, English pedagogy. It's uh, for what? For B.Ed.
Yes, sir. For B.Ed
Yeah.
and for D.Ed, both I have with me.
Okay. Okay. Oh, B.Ed and B.Ed, they will give you only an idea. Like see, there is a task-based language teaching, TBLT. That is an approach. So they will give you only an idea in a paragraph. So I gone through both B.Ed and D.Ed, but they will give you only an idea about that particular approach or method. But these books will cover A to Z topics. Like they will give you an idea, they will give you the introduction, they will give you the step-by-step process involved in the task-based language teaching, and they will give you the exercise also, like to refer. These books will give you complete idea. And Telugu Academy book, it's good only, but they will only summarize the things. But Richards and Rogers book, they will give you the wholesome idea of that particular method.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think there is only one paragraph for each approach or method, right? In English pedagogy, they only hardly write 10 to 15 lines on each approach and method. In universities, in University of Hyderabad, these two books are like they, they are suggested for a linguistics side, language teaching.
Yes, sir.
Richardson Rogers and N.S. Prabhu. Anything to say? Anything to ask? So it's my personal suggestion only. You can go for Richards and Rogers book and N.S. Prabhu. N.S. Prabhu now he's serving as a professor in Columbia University.
Oh,
He is our Telugu guy, Telugu person. And one more book, the references, you can see Kumara Vadivelu book, Beyond Methods. That is also good, Kumara Vadivelu, Beyond Methods. These two books especially talks about the procedures in classroom, like techniques that are used in classroom situations, especially Ines Prabhu and Kumara Vadivelu. Ram sir, Telugu Academy book is good, but I personally suggest you, like, if you are going for some
Yes,
competitive, especially for some competitive exams, you can refer Telugu Academy books. If you want to go for like higher educations, like doing a research in English language teaching, doing a research in English language teaching, these books are like basic books. Richardson Rogers, Miss Rose. If you are planning to have a in-depth knowledge on language teaching, and if you wanted to go for some research in language, then you can go for this. Or if you
yes,
want to have only idea about the methods and approaches, then uh, Telugu Academy books are more than enough, I think.
yes, sir.
Today, Nishi Farans madam is silent. I don't know why.
Her mic is not working, sir.
So that's why for past three classes, ma'am is texting in the chat box. She's not
Yes, sir.
speaking. So how was your journey with the B.R. Ambedkar Open University?
It was fantastic, sir. So starting with last year,
Yeah.
guided
So
by all the counselors. It
mm,
was fantastic journey, sir. Thanks to COVID, so that we get connected with
yeah.
fantastic counselors. Otherwise, we would have definitely missed you all, sir.
Yeah.
In addition to that, offline classes, since most of the centers they did not conduct after offline classes,
Oh,
and this year second year it was planned half offline classes and half online classes.
yes. Yeah.
Uh, Except Hyderabad center, all the other centers completely they depend on completely online classes.
Online. Yes.
Thanks to you all, so you covered everything, sir. All our counselors on the request. We were unable to attend the regular classes, sir, because they were not arranged due to uh, unavailability of counselors. Immediately, everybody responded and everybody started sharing right from block one within this short span of time. And it is very hectic to any counselor or very difficult to any teacher to cover such a huge amount of data with crisp explanation in such a short span of time. But everybody did fantastic jobs, sir, and a great help to all the students.
Yeah. I don't think, sir, I did justice, but I tried my level best in 5 classes. Uh, I think I did my level best, but I personally, uh, I didn't think that I did justice for you. I I look into it later on. And thanks for your uh, encouraging words, Rama sir. Yeah.
No, sir. Actually, no. We feel that personally, something is better than nothing, sir. At least if we don't, if the teacher does not cover that unit, automatically a student, even though he is or she is very well versed with the language or something, it feels like a kind of alien subject. When a
Yeah.
teacher just covers or touches the topic, the student immediately gets connected and
Yeah.
start actually start preparing themselves on their own. So
Yeah.
that's what happened. I'm not saying completely a detailed and depth knowledge or something, but however, even that touch of a fair touch of it, it's not just an ordinary one. A clean and fair touch of it has just instilled some kind of knowledge and gave us a hope, a ray of hope to just continue with the learning, so self learning.
Yeah. Yes. I what I think is like don't lose this book. It's a fantastic book. I personally wanted one copy. I will ask ma'am whether she will give or not. But don't lose this book. What I personally suggest you before, because it's a well written book. In a short span of time, I when I read this book, I personally wanted to uh, ask the ma'am for one more copy. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Last year
this
material
materials,
also, I did not give any of my juniors, sir. One junior asked me.
yeah.
She is my colleague. She
Okay.
asked me to give me the first year's book before she received. I I refused to give because
Yeah.
they are like treasure troves of knowledge, sir.
Yeah, definitely. These are our treasures. So,
Whenever we have some doubt, we can have just a quick glance so that we can get reference of it and
yes, yes.
go to the class and just kick them with that knowledge. In
Yeah.
addition to that, to clear my set, this material or the prime source, sir. I cleared my
Yeah.
set and I am about to clear my net also if it is released in June.
Oh,
I,
that's great news, Ramu sir. Congratulations. In
Thank you, sir.
2021, you cleared set.
Yes, sir. AP set
Yes, yes.
2021 I cleared.
2021. Yeah. So even I cleared. I cleared in 2020, and again I appeared in 2021. I cleared 2021 also. So yeah, best of luck for your all the best for your net exam also.
Yes, sir. I appeared
Definitely.
for net, sir. Whereas, with the paper one, I got 99.87 percentile. Paper two,
Okay.
it was just 45 percentile.
Yeah.
That's why I could not
Yes, yes.
clear. Paper two, it
Yeah.
was the second year I did not finish this one, right? That's why I
Yeah.
could not clear. Otherwise, paper two was like out of blue. Paper one, I worked hard, really hard, and paper two, whatever that I have my knowledge, and with these books and with some other books, I tried to go and I attempted, but however, paper two, it was just the questions were out of blue. Probably only Delhi University students who must have cleared, or HCU students must have cleared.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
next time,
Yeah.
definitely, I'll try to crack it, sir. June.
Yeah. Ramu sir, you do one thing. You can uh, WhatsApp me your contact also. I have my friends. They cleared JRF also last time. I can give
Yes, sir.
you their contact. You can contact them. So that will be really some information you'll get how to prepare for next.
Thank you very much, sir. I would be greatly indebted to you. If you do that,
No,
I'll
no,
WhatsApp you.
it's it's nothing. It's nothing. Just share your number or just WhatsApp me hi or something or something. Then I can share my friend's number with you. He cleared JRF this time also.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing. I'm only sharing the contact rate. Anything more? I think
That's it from my side, sir. Other students are actually completely quiet. Actually, they used to speak a lot.
yeah, yes.
Probably.
It's not that Ramu sir, you have, I mean, you have took up like whatever we wanted to tell. It
Rama sir,
was like you're
it happens.
representing us.
Okay, okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay,
It's a
sir.
really, I didn't even open my books, but after attending your session, I started reading, wanted to know more about that. So I started reading only after going to your lessons, sir.
Oh, that's really so nice of you, ma'am.
Yes,
That
yes,
really boosts me also. Like the next batch, I can put more time, invest more time in teaching.
yes.
So
Thank
people are wonderful. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. So we will meet definitely somewhere.
you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you, Ram sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.